I really wonder what's going on today and in today's world and all the crazy, wacky stuff that's going on. It's kind of flipped upside down, right? So let's just talk about some of these things for 30 minutes, shall we? Hey, welcome to the 30-Minute Podcast. I'm Johnny Allen. Thanks again for stopping by. We got another week, another day of talking about everyday life situations. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe. I appreciate that. The like button and all that good stuff on the YouTube side. I welcome you on Apple and Spotify as well, and Facebook. Hey, guys, it's Wednesday, January the 11th, 2023. I'm back with another cup of Java. And last week, if you didn't see the podcast, I talked about Hills Brothers. This is Hills Brothers. And a little less expensive coffee, a little less expensive, rather, than some of the other brands. I think coffee's kind of expensive, but it's a little less expensive, and it's not bad. So cheers to coffee. Thanks again for stopping by. I just chat about 30 minutes about everyday life stuff. That's all I do. Please comment below on anything I have to say today. Now, listen, guys, today... I'm getting a little bit older. I'll be 59 next month. And the way I look at things, I try to keep things delicate on subject matter, right? I try not to step on anybody's toes. I try not to be too opinionated. I give my opinions, but I try to keep a pretty level playing field. And I try to look at the obvious. I try to look at just things black and white, right? I mean, what I see is what it is. And I try not to sugarcoat too much anymore. I used to. I don't want to get into politically correctness and all that stuff because, to be honest with you, I really don't know what that means, and I say that kind of sarcastically. What is political correctness? To me, it makes no sense. It's in the eye of the beholder. I don't know. That's a whole nother podcast, but we're just going to jump right into my talking points today. First of all, thanks for stopping by. Now, I am a little bit of an NFL fan. I have to admit I watched it a little bit more this year than I did last year or the year before because of all the controversies involved. And to tell you the truth, I was battling other things personally like health issues, and I was just busy. And I didn't have time to really sit and watch the NFL regularly. But this year I've kind of, looked at the NFL a little bit and all that. And I made an observation this past Sunday night. I am a Colts fan and a Green Bay Packers fan, right? I've been a Green Bay Packers fan since I was, 8 years old. A long time. So I try to check out the Packers games when I can. But what I'm getting at is, the last few years, we've been, and I say we, as the society or part of the society or however you want to look at it, has been preaching. And guys, before I even get going on this subject, I just want everybody to know I am not racist. I never have been. I am not super opinionated. I have my opinions like everybody else, right? But I'm not like cut and dry. I try to keep an open mind on subjects. I try to see where other people are coming from. I try to keep, like I said, an open mind. I try not to be judgmental, all that kind of stuff. But I do have my opinions on things. And I look at things that happen in life and I wonder, well, why is this happening and why is that happening? So before I go any further, I just want to clarify that this is kind of an even playing field. It's just observations, right? I'm not judging anybody. any names that I mentioned today. It's not judging that person. Every person has to be responsible for what they do, right? Period. That's it. I don't speak for anybody. I'm not judging them. It's just observations, right? So with that being said, this is what I observed on the Sunday night football game. Okay, for the last couple of years, the NFL has preached and has advertised against racism, in racism. You see it all, well, equality, you see it all over the helmets, you see it on the fields. Like, here's an example of it right here. So you see this end racism on the fields and all that, and I'm good with that. Okay, yeah, racism is, being racist is bad. There's no doubt in my mind. Anybody who has any common sense knows that's bad. We should never be racist. We should treat everybody equally, equal opportunity, treat everybody with respect, all that good stuff. I'm on board with that, right? So, but the NFL, they really heightened aware of that, especially after 2020. They said, let's end the racism and all that stuff, right? So we get it, right? The NFL preaches it, we get it. So what I'm getting at is I watched the last Sunday night's football game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Okay, you guys might know where I'm coming from, and this is an observation. Comment below and tell me what you think. So we got a player on Green Bay Packers side, which really disappoints me all the way around that people even act this way. And if I'm butchering his name, I apologize, but Quay Walker, right? You guys saw what happened. Okay, we have a Detroit Lion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to Google or YouTube or something and just look it up. Look it up. Green Bay Packers player shoves a trainer. So anyway, it's a Detroit Lions player gets hurt on the field, and we know all about that stuff, especially what happened, on the Monday night game to Devon Hamlin, and thank God he's back home. I heard today, so that's good news for him. So the team, when somebody gets hurt, they're really focused on trying to see what's going on with the player, right? I mean, that's a given. I mean, I don't care who it is, what player, what team, whatever. It doesn't matter. Somebody gets hurt, it's immediate attention to that player. Make sure they get the best care there, right? We got it, right? So this player on Detroit Lions player gets hurt on the field. You guys can see it. So somebody from the Detroit Lions training staff comes out. You can see it. And the reason why I mention this is because it's on video. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself, guys. Here's where I'm going with it. Here we go. So the player from Detroit gets hurt on the field. The training people and the staff come out to try to see what's going on with the player. That's what they're supposed to do. They come out, they check on their player, right? And if you watch the video, and I watched it live as it happens, someone from the training staff comes out, tries to help and see what's going on with this player. Of course, all the players are huddled around, which you can understand that, right? They're huddled around to see what's going on, especially what happened on Monday night a week ago. And the guy, you can see the trainer just kind of gently nudges the Green Bay Packer guy like, hey, excuse me here, I got to get in and check on my player. And this guy, Quay Walker, just shoves him hard. Okay, first of all, why? And I'll go with it because I've heard another interview with Mr. Walker since it's happened, and I'll share that with you. So he shoves this small guy, okay, that happens to be white. And the reason why I'm mentioning this because you remember what I said at the beginning of this. The NFL is about ending racism. And I'm not calling this racism particularly, but just hang in there. You'll see where I'm going with this. So the young, athletic, strong guy, football player, right, shoves this, smaller white guy, older guy, a little bit older. Because he didn't like that. He just kind of said, hey, excuse me, I need to get in here and help my player. Apparently he didn't like that, so he shoved him really hard, right? So the trainer turns around like, whoa, what's going on, And then as he's looking, Mr. Walker backs off, but then there's another player, and I forget his name, and he just kind of, he decides he's going to kind of bump him with the shoulder. No, I didn't mean to do that. The point I'm trying to make is that all that behavior on the field was unnecessary. If you're an organization that is trying to emphasize ending racism, ending violence, ending being aggressive, violent behavior, or, just inappropriate behavior to begin with, right? do you do that? Do you demonstrate that kind of behavior when you're trying to represent another behavior? Comment below. I'm just saying. Does people get hot heads and they don't mean what they do? Of course. Do people make mistakes? Of course. Everybody does. But my whole point with this, to open it up, is that really did bother me that he just shoved this guy. Now, I mean, there's no point in that. There's no point in that at all. He knows that guy was just saying, hey, excuse me. These guys are not stupid. They're smart. They're intelligent guys. They're reasonable guys for the most part. There is no, in my observation, as just a normal guy looking at it, there is no point in that, right? And it doesn't only happen in the football field. It happens everywhere with different races and different people and different agendas. So the bottom line with this whole story that opened up this podcast today is, you know, you want to end violence, you want to end racism, you want to end bad behavior, then end bad behavior. End bad behavior. If you want to represent someone that's not racist, not violent, doesn't have anger issues, then don't act up. Simple as that. Don't act up on the field. Now, to Mr. Walker's credit, he did come back and apologized, which I feel like he should. Was it sincere? I don't know. I'm not in his mind. I don't know. That's for him to answer. Was it just an apology to save face, or was it sincere? Like I said, I don't know. That's up to Mr. Walker. But he's a young guy. And I think what it is with all this stuff that's been going on for the last 3 years, we have to tame emotions. We have to calm it down. And even Mr. Walker admitted, he said, hey, you know, I got a little emotional, blah, blah, blah. I understand it. Everybody does. Like I said, I'm not knocking him particularly. Unfortunately, he was a guy that did the action, and, you know, we got to mention his name because he's the one that did that on Sunday night. But my whole point, again, guys, with this, and if you disagree with me, comment. If you agree with me, comment. My whole thing about all this is, okay, yeah, people make mistakes. We're imperfect. We live in a simple world. But if you really want to try to make the world a better place, and we're going with this politically correctness, whatever that's supposed to mean, right? And we want to end racism, we want to end violence, we want to end, you know, discrimination and all these things, then walk the walk and don't talk the talk, right? So we don't shove innocent guys that are trying to help another player. We don't do that. And I just use this story as an example. It happens everywhere, right? So comment below if you have any opinions on that, what happened. And you wonder why a lot of people say, okay, I'm just done watching the NFL, right? I'm just done. I mean, guys out there trying to, you know, help another guy out, and then you got a football player shoving him because he said, excuse me, let me come in here. You know, and to hear his interview, and you guys can look it up for yourself, he said, well, I felt like somebody pushed me. Well, that wasn't true. If you look at the thing, he didn't push him. He just kind of grabbed his shoulders and said, hey, excuse me, I need to get through here. I think we need as a society, and this goes for all races and all people, I think as a society, we need to tighten it up. We need to tighten it up. We need to tighten up our behaviors. If you're spending all these thousands and millions of dollars to say, okay, end racism, end this, equality for this, parades for that, this and that, you know, maybe we should focus, maybe we adjust that a little bit. It all comes from basics, from the beginning. Just simple stuff, right? Standard stuff. How about when you grow up, learn how to behave. You don't shove people. Maybe you don't say bad things to people. Let's start with basic behavior. Basic good behavior from the get-go, from when you're a small child growing up. That's the problem. You know, and a little background on me. I'm a little older. I came from kind of a sort of a strict background. I wouldn't say totally strict, but a stricter background. I think it helped me out as a human being. Am I perfect? No, I'm never going to be. But I respect people. I hold the doors open for people, men and women, if they're elderly or even younger. If they're coming through, I hold the door open for them. I just common courtesy. If someone drops some change on the ground, they didn't see it, I say, excuse me, sir or ma'am, you know, you dropped some change. I pay it forward. You know, if someone's a little low on money, I'm not rich by no means. Hey, I'll cover the $5 for his coffee, whatever. I just think those are examples of things that everybody should do, and it'll make the world a better place, right? And it goes from something kind of minor, like what happened in the Green Bay-Detroit games, something like that,
to bigger, huger things on this or on the world stage, like war, like Ukraine, like Putin. You know, I mean, big things like that. We need as a society, we need a gut check here. You know, people need to step up. And I watched another podcast, and a guy mentioned that he sees it maybe turning the corner where people are getting better about it. They are conscious about other people's feelings. They do care about their fellow human beings, right? Men and women out there. We're going to be a little more conscientious about how we conduct our behavior.
Right? And I mean, I will say one positive thing about Quay Walker. At least he did apologize, right? And like I said, whether it was forced apology or honest, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, I can't speak for him, but the fact that he did apologize was something that it was a step in the right direction. That's good. That's good. So at least he recognized it, right? People make mistakes and recognize it. I'm not going to harp on the guy. What he did was wrong. He did apologize for it, but I think basically the bottom line with this whole thing I'm talking about here, guys, is that we just need to be really careful and keep our emotions in check and just be careful before we act out. Drink a coffee. I am glad that Mr. Devon Hamlin's back home. And, you know, somebody else mentioned something about that too, is that we have a lot of veterans that don't come home and are killed. And we need to, you know, make sure we recognize them as well. If you already do, that's great. But we need to recognize there's a lot of tragedy and a lot of uncertainty in the world, right? So everybody, let's get together and just get on the right side, the right page, and just treat one another with respect. I mean, it's as simple as that. Try to care for people. The world's going to be a lot better. That's how you fix a problem. You know, we got to, you know, whether it ever get fixed, in my lifetime, I probably will never see it, but maybe one day the world will be healed and things will be fixed. So anyway, so much for that. That's the number two talking point I had today, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. I really do. And, there's lots of going on. Okay. So anyway, like I said, Hills Brothers Coffee today, guys. What kind of coffee you guys drinking? Do you drink coffee? Thanks again for stopping by. I did have this morning, I went out to breakfast with a friend, good friend of mine, and I had Folgers coffee. I asked him at where I go eat quite frequently, the local establishment I eat breakfast. I asked him, what kind of coffee you guys are making in this restaurant? They said, well, it's just Folgers. I said, that's good. So, like I said, I like all kinds of coffee, but I think, I'm just kind of going back to the basics. I think as I get older, we're just going back to the basics, Okay, third talking point, right? All right, today I just found out we had an air traffic control issue. Airspace was shut down. Planes were grounded for a while. That hasn't happened since 9/11. Very interesting. And to add to that, this is what's weird. Now, this is kind of uncanny. This is kind of personal. I had a really bad dream last night, guys, and I'm sincere about this, of watching a plane lose control and crashing. I hate those dreams. I've had a few of those in my life. But it's weird that I had a dream about air jets having problems last night. I wake up this morning and find out the airspace was shut down. How weird is that? I don't know. I'm just sharing that with you. So I went, whoa. Have you ever had that? Had a dream and almost like kind of a premonition? Very weird. Anyway, I thought I'd add that to this. But air traffic control shut things down this morning. It was due to a flaw or a glitch in the computer system. Safety data, I guess, when they're up in the air, it's finding other planes so they don't crash into each other. In layman's terms, I'm not an air traffic control person or airlines guy, but basically what I got, that's what it was. So the system that, while you're in the air, sees other planes around you was shut down, which is not good because you can't tell who's what and where's where, right? You don't want to smash another plane. So kind of scary stuff, but they had to shut that down for a while, fix it. It's caused a bunch of delays and everything. So that comes to my next talking point that relates to that. And I've talked about this before in the past. Do we depend too much on computers, technology, all this stuff? It can be good. I'm not denying that. But I think we depend way too much on AI. especially to be more detailed about it, or more to the point. I'm more or less talking more like AI stuff. Computers are one thing, okay? We got systems out there. System fails, though, we're in so much trouble as a society all the way around, from banking to everything, to your utilities, to air travel, okay? Everything is run by computers today, and, 20, 30, 40 years ago, especially 40 years ago, 50 years ago, certainly 60 years ago, nothing was run by computers like they are now. There wasn't even computers, really. I mean, there was 50 years ago, but there was great big things. But there wasn't anything like there is today. Are we dependent too much on technology? I'm going to touch on that again. I talked about it in podcast way back. But are we dependent on this technology way too much? And I believe that we are. We are very dependent too much on technology. One thing goes wrong, man, we're screwed, right? We're done. Seriously, we are done. And the AI thing is another thing. So we're going to switch from, are we dependent too much on technology? In my opinion, yes. Comment below if you agree. Yes, we depend too much on this high-tech technology. Are we addicted to high-tech technology? Technology. Yes, we are. I mean, look at people on cell phones all the time, glued to it. So not only are we dependent on technology for survival, we're dependent on this high-tech technology, and we're addicted to it. The youth is very addicted to it. That's all they want to do is be on their cell phones 24/7. You can't apply for a job without going through cell phones, without going through prompts, without going through an app, without doing this. You can't just go into a store and say, hey, I'd like to apply for a job. No, you got to go here, you got to go there. Anyway, the bottom line is I'm trying to say we depend way too much on technology today. It's gotten spun out of control. And to tie in with that, especially AI, artificial intelligence, very scary. I may get a guest on sometime. We'll talk about artificial intelligence, and we'll talk the whole podcast concerning artificial intelligence, AI. Okay, so examples, if I want to check on my money in the stock market, I want to call the bank, any kind of bank. If I want to call really just about any place I call, the doctor's office, whatever, I never talk to a real person. To get to a real person, you're going to go, have you had this? Have you guys had this? I know you have. Comment below. To try to talk to a real person on the phone, to try to get some information, to try to fix a problem, you have to just hop through, you got to jump over hoops, right? You got to, so much obstacles to go through to get to a real person. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. So you got this AI, picks up the phone. If you want this, you want that. And what's crazy is they already know your phone number. They know who you are. They know everything. It's just crazy. Now, the thing is, this AI 20 years from now, of course, I'll be very old if I'm still here. 20 years from now, the AI, if it's like this now, what's the AI going to be like 20 years from now if we don't self-destruct before then? That's a whole other podcast too. But, where is the AI going to go? Right now, it's like you don't talk to a real person ever. Does that drive you crazy? AI can be very scary. Are they going to end up running us? I watch, or listen rather, once in a while to the famous show at night, you guys, Coast to Coast AM, right? This is kind of Coast to Coast AM kind of stuff. And they talk about AI. But it really is kind of scary that eventually, years ago there was a movie out called The Terminator that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in, right? Remember that? Remember that movie? And back when it came out, what was that, in the 80s or something like that? Late 80s, whatever, I can't remember. But when it came out, the first one, I thought, that's so far-fetched. There's no way that could happen. What, he's from the future, whatever. Now, as you go fast forward 20, 30 years ago, whenever that movie, I think probably 30 maybe years ago now, when that movie first came out, I'm looking at it now, today, 2023, it's like, yeah, that can happen. Just like on the podcast on YouTube, YouTube is ran pretty much by AI now, and I can't even post my own songs up without getting a red flag because it said, you know what, the song's owned by John Allen Slack, which is me, and you can't use it. It's like, hey, I can't, it's mine. It's just like they have control. It's going to control everything. AI, artificial intelligence, is going to control human beings. And are we going to be able to shut it down? That's a big question. We may not be able. It may just take over completely and wipe us out. Could you imagine a machine that we create wiping us out? We're already creating and manipulating viruses that are trying to wipe us out. I mean, you need to stop and think about it. The whole thing, from the racism thing, like I started at the beginning of the podcast, all the way down to AI, artificial intelligence, the way the whole world is being operated now. Are we really trying to end ourselves as a human civilization? Are we trying to wipe ourselves out? Makes you wonder, right? We're headed that way if we don't stop, right? I know it's a little bit conspiracy and seriously deep subjects, but it is what it is. Another drink of coffee, guys. That's why we enjoy the coffee while we can. I mean, you stop and think about it. They're already pushing us towards all electric, and that's a whole different thing too. I don't have time to talk about all that. But eventually, mark my words, what's going to happen is they're going to make it so where you got to have an electric vehicle. They're going to make it to where you don't even own a vehicle, because they're only going to have so many electric vehicles. They're going to make it way too expensive for you to own a gas-operated car. You won't have your own car. If you need to go somewhere, you're going to have to call a AI-operated car, and you have to request a trip. Like I just came back from New Jersey. Probably in the future, I'm going to have to put in a request to take a trip to New Jersey. It's going to have to be approved by the government. I might have to put out a lot of money, and the AI is going to take me out there. If I'm not using public transportation, if I use a private vehicle, the AI, it won't even be a private vehicle. It'll just be an AI, government-funded vehicle that says, okay, you can either go or you not go. The bottom line is with all this, with the electric cars, they're saying it's environment and all this stuff, getting everybody to buy into that. And I'm not against the environment. I'm all pro-environment, good for the environment. But I think what it is they put these scare tactics in. It's a way to control the population. It's a way to control you. It's a way for Big Brother to control everything. Tell you when you can go, where you can go, how you can go, and how far you can go, and how much you can spend. I mean, it's already becoming that way. If you look at what's going on with the AI right now, it's out of control. If you look what's going on with everything, like I said, operated by high tech, they shut the airlines down today, right? Now, for a while, the grounded planes. Now, 70 years ago, would we have had that issue? That's a question. So where the world is going, I don't like it. But what can I do about it? Absolutely nothing. But drink coffee and pray for the best. And I talked about prayers, last week. And that's all we can do, guys and gals. And again, when I say guys, I mean everybody. It's a general term, men and women. And, even that, is that correct today, men and women? Is there men? That's a whole nother podcast, too. That's what I mean. It's like everything has just gotten kind of out of control. Out of control. And the thing is, if you talk about one thing that you're passionate about, like ending racism, like the NFL. Let's end racism, okay? I'm all about it. I'm on board. Let's do it. Then if you talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. You can't talk the talk. Be an example on the field, football field, of being a good steward and not being racist. I'm not saying that guy's racist, but it doesn't look good when you're this big African-American athlete and you shove a small white trainer. It doesn't look good. Even if it was the other way around. Okay, right? Even if it's the other way around. Okay? Could have been a big white football player shoving a black trainer. It doesn't matter how you spin the scenario. The scenario's still there. Either way, it's bad, okay? It just happened to be that way at the Green Bay game. All right? So, and it is what it is. Videos don't lie. At least when they're live. But anyway, what do you guys think about that? I'm just saying basically, walk the walk in life. Be a good steward in life, right? It's general stuff. We depend too much on computers and technology today. That's what my podcast is today, guys. And these are everyday life situations that you and I experience every day, right? I didn't have a flight today, but somebody I know probably had a flight that got delayed because of a computer problem. Every day you're on the phone, you're hitting AI, right? You're applying for a job. You got to go through all this stuff. Now, maybe some of the younger kids today are like, I'm okay with that. But I say something to the younger people out there watching. Be aware of how they're making things so easy for you. Because the easier it gets for you, they're controlling you. Hey, don't worry about this. I'll take care of it. Hey, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. You just got to do that. I'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about nothing. We're taking care of you. Be careful when somebody says, we're taking care of you. That's a red flag. You know, it's okay to think for yourself a little bit. And if you really do need help, it's good to talk to another human being that can understand something. I get so aggravated at these, these robo answering services. Would you like this? No. Blah, blah, blah. No. And eventually I just go on there and go, no, or say some weird stuff so they automatically shove me to a representative, right? Okay. That's my spiel for today. I'm going to end the podcast today, guys, with what's important in life, especially like as you get older like I am. I'm figuring out what really is important in life. I got a haircut on Monday. The gal that cut my hair is my daughter's age. She's like 30 years old. We had a really nice conversation. We talked about, I'll share briefly what it was. We talked about how things change as you get older, and I shared that with her. The things that really mattered back in the day doesn't matter now, and as you get older, you appreciate the really simple stuff, right? Like I love bird watching. Now, when I was 20 years old, if you told me, hey, you're going to love bird watching, I would have said, you're crazy. I'm not watching any birds. I'm drinking beer and I'm listening to rock and roll, or I'm jamming my guitar up as loud as I can get it or whatever. I'm racing my cars, whatever. Looking at birds was like the last thing. The old person stuff, okay? I'm a little bit older, but I'm enjoying that. You learn to slow down. You learn to enjoy life. You learn to enjoy a nice cup of coffee. Things definitely change as you get older. Your perspective changes. Things slow down, and you know what? It's all good. It's fine. It's good. And I talked about a little bit about the stock market because I recently retired September 6th of last year. I talked about the stock market to her. She says, I tried to put some away, and then things got in the way, and I couldn't put anything away now, and I'm just starting to try to put something away. I said, I tell you what, you're still young. You're only 30. Put a little bit of money away. I don't care if it's $10 a pay period. It may sound like nothing, but you'll be surprised as the years go on, that adds up quite a bit. But I just had a nice conversation with the young lady. I do appreciate the conversation with her. And it's nice she really listened. Because a lot of times, and I was guilty of it when I was younger, people don't want to listen, especially when you're young. You don't want to listen to older folks. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no idea, right? You can get a lot of wisdom from some older people. So, but that's about it today, guys. Like I said, no matter what you're doing in life, walk the walk, don't talk the talk, but do something nice in life. It's easy to be a fool. It's easy to be mean. It's easy to be violent. It's easy to take advantage of people. It's easy to put people down. It's easy to be a racist. It's easy to do all that stuff. It's harder to be nice. It's harder to be positive. It's harder to be a better person in life, someone of integrity. And I say harder, and not necessarily harder. But it might take a little bit of work if you're on the other side of that fence. But it's a lot more rewarding. And if everybody gets on that bandwagon, it's going to be great. I call it the goodness bandwagon. You get on that goodness bandwagon, everything's good. Because stop and think about what happened in Green Bay. If Mr. Walker would have controlled his emotions and not done that, just flared up and said, hey, he touched me, I pushed him, it wouldn't have never been a story. He wouldn't have to apologize. He wouldn't feel bad if he feels bad. He says he does. He wouldn't have to feel bad about it. It would have been no issue. He would have had more peace with himself, right? So if that event didn't happen, things would have been a lot easier for him. And that goes for anybody, right? I do good deeds for people. I don't ever receive them back. I don't want to receive them back necessarily. I don't do it to receive things back. I do it out of goodness of my heart. And I think, have I always been that way? Somewhat not. But I'm learning as I get older, and we can learn as we get older. Anyway, that's really all I got today, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to, if you're new, welcome to the channel. If you like, hit the subscribe and the like and all that good stuff on the YouTube side. I'm enjoying my Hills Brothers coffee. I say, God pray for this planet and civilization and everything involved. It's delicate. It's kind of scary where everything is going. And the sad thing is, it doesn't have to go that way. We got the human society, human beings that are influencing. We always want to try to play God. I don't mean me personally, but people that create these things that's for the better of manhood, better of humanity rather, trying to play God, and it's backfiring. I mean, if you don't believe me, just look at what's going on. Take a step back, really sit back, and look how things are going. For the younger generation that don't know anything about the past generations, look at old films, the way they used to do things back then. Not saying it was perfect back then, but look how scary it can be now. And the only reason why I mention that is because we still have hope that we could kind of change these things and back up the truck, so to speak, and change things for the better, right? So we'll see what happens. I have no control of it. I don't have control of it. Who does? But anyway, I got to go. Thanks for stopping in. I would like to say I am praying for some of my family members right now that are having some problems. I pray for the people I don't know. Pray for this earth, this planet, and humanity. And like I said, God willing, I'll see you guys next week, and we'll talk about something else. Take care.